like to call the work session on Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022 to order. Agenda item 1A, consideration of a bid recommendation for the replacement of the city's Greenview Drive asphalt path. Department of Parks and Recs, Director Bailey, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, and City Council. The Department of Parks and Recreation is requesting approval to replace the walking path at Greenview Drive. We were able to solicit 3 bids to replace the existing deteriorating path, and the following quotes were as listed. Maverick Asphalt Maintenance, Maverick Asphalt Maintenance came in at $63,520. Asia Cooper Contracting, $61,500, and Asphalt Star, $58,500. Funding for this expenditure is provided for in the adopted FY 2023 CIP Park Improvement Project, and it is recommended that the City of Laurel accept a bid of $58,500 from Asphalt Star of Millersville, Maryland, for the asphalt replacement at Greenview Drive path. If anybody has any questions, I'm available.
Any questions or comments from the council?
I have one.
Sure, go ahead, Councilman Cole.
Are we just replacing this exact same path, tearing up the old asphalt, putting in new, same spot?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Any other comments or questions from the council? Well, if the council agrees, we'll award the contract at the mayor and city council meeting on Monday, November 14th, 2022. Thank you, Director Bailey. Next on the agenda is agenda item 1B, consideration of a bid recommendation for the phase 1 renovations to the Laurel Multi-Service Center. Again, we have Director Bailey, you have the floor.
Thank you again, Mr. President. So the Department of Parks and Recreation has been working with KCI Engineering on the planning and design of Laurel Multi-Service Center, phase 1. Phase 1 will consist of renovations to the back half of the building, which houses a full-size gymnasium, 2 multi-purpose rooms, storage rooms for the gym equipment, and emergency supplies. The entire roof of the building will be replaced in this phase as well. Phase 1 will be utilized by the Department of Parks and Recreation and will have its own entrance off the main entrance. The Department of Parks and Recreation solicited bids for phase 1 of the project through eMaryland Marketplace and the City of Laurel's website. 6 companies showed interest in the project through questions and participation in the on-site pre-construction meeting, and 2 formal bids were submitted. References were verified and bids were reviewed and qualified by the city solicitor. The 2 bids received were as follows. Cooper Building Services, $4,563,520, and Keller Brothers of Mount Airy, Maryland, $3,961,500. Funding for this project is provided for in the adopted FY 2023 Capital Improvement Program Multi-Service Center with city funding as well as funding from the Maryland State Legislature. It is recommended that the City of Laurel accept a bid of $3,961,500 from Keller Brothers of Baltimore, Maryland, with a contingency of 5%, which is $198,075, for a grand total of $4,159,575. Let me read that again. $4,159,575. Again, this is phase 1 of 2 phases for the multi-resource center, and just requesting approval to begin on phase 1. Any questions? I'm here for answers.
Was there a major difference between the bids? Is it just based off their labor or work?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, they're
Okay.
pretty close, really. I mean, comparatively to.
Okay. Any questions from the council or comments?
I have a question, Council President.
Sure, Councilman DeWalt.
Bill, so this is just for the Parks and Rec side, and once that's completed, and we go to phase 2, will that be operable for Parks and Rec to move into it and fully functional and everything like that, and while they're doing phase 2?
That's correct. So phase 1, we anticipate to be completed approximately around June or July. So it will be fully operational, and we'll be able to use it while phase 2 is under construction. Now, keep in mind, we're looking at phase 2. Hopefully, I'll be coming before you on that one in December or January. Well, I won't be coming before you, but it should go out to bid December or January on phase 2. So you could have both sides underway at the same time. But phase 1, the back half will be completed prior to, and it will be fully functional during operation of phase 2. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions? Oh, Councilman Sidnor?
Yeah, I had a lot of questions, but administration answered those questions yesterday through the email, and I met with Assistant Administrator Barr yesterday as well. Sat down and she explained a lot of things to me as well. Things I probably already knew. It's just been so long that since we talked about the project, and just wanted to get a refresher on the project. Got the blueprint from the city administrator. I hung it up in the council office so everybody can see. Like the way the project is going, and so I just want to thank staff for giving me the information I requested and explaining it to me in more detail. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
No problem. Any other comments from the council?
Mr. President, if I could, I just wanted to state, we talked today, we met with and you were there as well, we met with the architectural firm. As soon as we get some other approvals done, they're going to hopefully do some renderings as well. And then we plan to have, I talked to Bill briefly this afternoon about doing a presentation to the council again, updating them on everything, how things we think is going to work, what we've established so far, all of those different pieces. So probably, Bill, I think it's fair to say maybe the first of the year, we can hopefully try to get that done and brief everybody, bring them up to date as well. And we'll have phase 2, hopefully we'll already be at, the bids will be back for you all to take a look at as well. But we also want to make sure we keep you all updated as well on what's happening with the whole project. So, thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Mr. Mayor. Well, if the council agrees, we'll award the contract at the mayor and city council meeting on Monday, November 14th, 2022. Last item on the agenda is agenda item 1C, ordinance number 2003, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of Laurel, Maryland, amending the Laurel City Code, chapter 16, taxation, article 1 to amend section 1610, elderly and veteran tax credit program, and to provide an effective date. Director Saylor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mayor Mo, and council members. Good evening. Ordinance number 2003 is an update to ordinance 1927, which was adopted in January of 2018. It provides for a tax credit program for our city property owners that are 65 years of age or older. So with this, we've taken the revisions made by the state of Maryland, which allows us to offer the tax credits. And working with Mr. Taub, I greatly appreciate his assistance with this. We are taking the provisions to the maximum that we can offer. So as we discussed before, the minimum years of living in your property that you own was 40 years. We're taking that to 10 years. This will include surviving spouses that are 65 years or older of military. It also increases the maximum assessment of your property to $500,000. And I'm sorry and takes the credit to 20% from 10%. And that's the ordinance, Mr. President.
Thank you, Director Saylor. Any questions or comments from the council?
Yeah, I got some questions. I probably got to ask you some more questions later, but I just want to get the initial questions out. Can we separate these two? Have like a veterans one and a a senior citizen one separate? I know it's combined right now, that both veterans and senior citizens got to be 65 years old. I think that's the language we came from the state, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong or not. Can we
Yes, sir.
lower? Yeah. Do we have the authority to lower the age?
I'll defer to Mr. Taub.
Thank you, Councilman Sidner. Thank you, Director Saylor. Councilman Sidner, the state law now simply says that I think it has to be someone at least 65 years of age. That, I believe, is in the state law. What was changed was the prior requirement that one had to be in their residence for at least 40 years. And now it can be less than that. It can be no more than 40 years. And that's one of the significant changes here. But the age, unless I'm mistaken, I go back and look at it again, I do believe was set at 65.
Okay, yeah. I like the improvement, from 40 years is a long time, but yeah, 10 years is great. I like that. But can we separate them though? Because, I want some for the elderly, but, veterans, I think maybe they can check on it. Can we change that to 60 instead of 65?
I'll go back and check that and work with Director Saylor on that, and we can check back. I don't have it here right in front of me, but I'll check.
Okay.
Back and see. I do believe it was that 65 is the minimum, but I'll check that, Councilman. We'll get back to you.
Yeah. So I got two more questions. So the state's saying that it's 65, but we can't alter. We can't have a separate bill. Can we create a separate bill saying for veterans being 60 can qualify? We do it.
I believe the age 65 was it's in the issue is that the qualification of seniors and military personnel and surviving spouses is all in the same section of the state code.
State code. So we got to go back to Annapolis and get that changed.
I believe so. I'll check on that and get back to you, let you know. But I believe it's minimum 65 for each, if you will, each classification of individual, just those over 65 or 65 or older, and those in the military.
Okay. No, my last question, probably saying it wrong, but it say that when you purchase a house, it has to be worth $500,000 at the time. Am I reading that correctly?
No.
No, so that's I'm sorry, Mr. Taub.
That's all right. Go ahead.
That there was a cap on the value of the property that we could administer the tax credit. So if my house were worth, if I met all the other eligibility requirements, but my house's assessment or my property assessment was $450, the city would only give me the credit up to $350,000. We didn't turn anyone away, but we could only give you a credit of up to $350,000 worth of property.
Okay.
Couldn't give you the credit on the whole 450 or.
Okay.
Councilman, if I could just add one more thing, that's
sure.
So what Director Saylor said, that what used to be 350 now if this ordinance is adopted, it would be increased to 500, but that figure also would be increased annually based upon, I think it's the lesser of the CPI or 3%. Is it, Director Saylor, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that language also came from the state as well, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, that's no further questions. Thank you.
President, could I just comment on this? We did send a letter to our delegation. There are several concerns about this. This is money or credits that would affect our budget, our local budget, not the state's. And it would be nice for us to have that opportunity if we wanted to do it, whatever age we decided on, quite frankly, my opinion. The other issue that we are concerned about is, especially from the seniors, this legislation and the state legislation only allows us to do it for 5 years. And then you have to, you can't get it any longer. Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, especially with the seniors. And that concerned us as well. We're going to give a tax credit to seniors for up to 5 years right now. What happens down the road? I mean, when they get used to that tax credit or everything else, and then it has to be bumped back up, and we have no way of really doing anything. This was also the problem we had because of state legislation of trying to do tax credits for the mom and pop shops that had apartments. We were trying to do some type of a tax credit for them about 2 years ago. But they're going to find, I think the age is 65. They didn't do that, but I have sent a letter sent a letter to the delegation asking them to look at all of this, our public safety, our elderly, our disadvantaged, all of those to take a look at and see if they could work with us. So that's one of the things that we're going to try to work with them in Annapolis, as well as the duration. So I just want to make sure you were aware of that as well. Thank you.
Now,
Mr.
yeah, can I add something as well, Mr. Mayor? Mr. President, Council President.
Sure.
Thank you for the information, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't aware of that. I thought the state would help us with this as well. So the state just gives authority to change. They don't give us any funding to towards
No.
the tax credit at all.
No, sir.
This is all money we're taking from Michelle.
I mean, I think it's still a good idea, but I think the state should put in also, because we're talking about veterans and seniors, and so that's something we got to take up with Annapolis, District 21 as well. All right, thank you.
Mr. President, if I may just, Dana, I just did check the state law, and Councilman Sidner, I can confirm that it is simply a minimum of 65 years of age. There's no authority, the city, to offer this to anyone less of anyone younger than 65.
Thank you, Mr. Tyler. Appreciate it.
Sure.
I have a question, Council President.
Sure, Councilman DeWalt.
Actually, a couple inquiries about explaining things. 65 or older, but it's like the mayor said, this program's only going to be eligible for once you apply for it and you get it, you're only allowed to do it 5 times.
Yes, sir.
And what's the figure I heard for? It was at one time 40 years, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. Now it's 10 years. What's it,
Yes.
40 years owning your property? If you go over 40 years, you're not eligible?
Ms. Director Sale, if I might,
Yes, sir.
the Councilman DeWalt, the law says that a municipal corporation may provide by law for the minimum number of years not to exceed 40 years that an eligible individual not described under subsection blah, 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 must have resided in the same dwelling. So what you're able to do here is to establish the minimum number of years that one must be residing in the same dwelling that simply cannot exceed 40 years.
So once you're owning your house for 40 years, you're no longer eligible.
No,
What is that?
it's simply the minimum number of years that you must have resided there. If
Okay.
let's say you resided there for 35 or let's say 38 years and you have 5 years, you're eligible. You could certainly at that point
You're
still
eligible.
take advantage of the tax credit.
I got you. And now what's the 10? It was at 10%. And what's it got raised to 20%. Now that's 20% of what?
The city's taxes, the
City-
city's real estate tax.
Okay. So that doesn't count with what the county tax charges you. It's all going to be just the city.
We only have authority to give a credit for our taxes that we levy. So it's the town levy line on your property tax.
I think it's a great program.
Mhm.
I think it's absolutely fabulous. And, at least now you get some substance to it. Before, when it was 40 years, you had to own your house 40 years or more. I mean, how many people are eligible for that? There's not too many probably, but and lowering it down to 10 years and giving them that tax credit. I mean, you could raise it whatever you want to. I think it's fabulous that we're taking care of the veterans. And I think it's fabulous we're taking care of the elderly. But just like the mayor said, I think we ought to throw in there first responders, people with disabilities, things like that, and log it into one large group. And that's the only comments I would have. Thank you very much.
If I could just add to what the mayor said, that we need to support any action to increase the number of years that you can get this. Since the original ordinance 1927 was passed in January of 2018, in the next couple of years, we will be approaching the first batch of people that ever applied. They will be maxing out on years. So this becomes critical for the upcoming legislative session in Annapolis to get that maximum number of years changed. The second thing I would add is that there is Ordinance 1928 was also adopted in January of 2018, and that provides a tax credit for public safety officers who work with an agency that's in the city limits. So people that live in the city limits that are members with the Laurel Police Department, the Laurel Volunteer Fire Department and Rescue Squad, they are also eligible for tax credits.
And what's that percentage at?
That one is up to $2,500.
Oh, up to.
Yes.
That's also, again, only for 5-year cycle for that as well. Council.
Yes.
What would you like to see the 5 years change to? What would be reasonable?
I mean, as long as they meet the eligibility, I would just think in perpetuity, as long as they.
And eliminate the 5 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing that we have, Councilman Dewalt, is that it allows the flexibility for the council, the mayor and the council at the time, no matter what time in years to come, how much they want to give. So if the budget might be real tight, you're able to look at that number within your budget and take, either add more to it or reduce it, whatever the case may be. But the 5 years is really, I just don't understand that thinking, but we are going to go to Annapolis and we're going to work to change some of these to give us more flexibility and hopefully get other municipalities on board as well. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. I have Councilman Mitchell. You have a comment?
Yes, of course, I love the additions to this bill, as everybody stated. Of course, moving it from 40 to 10 is great. My question was, how many people have taken advantage of the tax credit since 2018?
I will get you the total, Mr. Mitchell. Right now, we have 38 recipients, 38 property owners with an average of about $216 per property is the average credit among those 38.
Okay, no, that's.
And we have 9 of the 38, 9 property owners are over the maximum assessment. So currently it's $350,000. We have 9 people that their assessment is over the $350,000.
Understood. And I guess my other question was, as far as the 5 years, that's currently that's all together. It's not like if they took 5 years and there was a break for 3, they could reapply for 5, or it's just 5 for the lifetime currently.
Yeah, Councilman Mitchell, the law says that the property tax credit allowed under the section may be granted for a period of up to 5 years, and that's all it says.
So you're, and so essentially, if that's all it says, I would think that there's no language that says like after 5 years, or after 3 years of not applying, they couldn't reapply. And let me know if that's correct or not.
No, sir, that's correct. There's no language that would indicate that would allow that.
Sure. Okay. No, that's interesting. Okay, thank you.
So what's happening is we have an application process. The property owner fills out the application, provides us with a picture ID, with a utility bill, something that shows, along with that notation on the assessment that they actually live on the property, because it has to be owner occupied. And then each year they come and bring us that recertification, and we process the credit.
No, I understand. I'm clear. Thank you very much, Michelle.
Sure.
One more question, Michelle. Could you do this? Is this going to be able to be done online, or do we need to tell the eligible people to come to City Hall to get the application processed?
The applications are available online, at least under the ordinance 1927, but we would make them available. We'll update them once you adopt ordinance 2003. They can get the forms online. The ordinance itself, the signed ordinance, will be online. And we could accept it if they want to email their paperwork. But
will you
would
have
be-
somebody available at City Hall in case somebody is struggling with it or anything like that? To
Oh,
walk?
absolutely. Oh, yes, we can help them. Right. Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Councilman Sidney, you have another question, or is your hand just still
Yeah.
up?
Nah, I have another question. Thank you, Mr. President. This question is for the city solicitor. You might know the answer, might not though. Since the state, most of this language coming from the state has a bill that they give tax credit to veterans as well. Because it seems like they deferring everything to the municipality. Anything? Do you know of?
Councilman Sidner, I'm looking here. This is what we call enabling legislation, which means that they pass legislation that allows, in this particular case, they say the mayor and city council of Baltimore City or the governing body of a county or municipal corporation. Now, there may be other provisions in the state code for some relief from state tax. I'm not sure. We haven't looked at that, but this is what we call the enabling legislation that allows a municipal corporation to do this.
All right, thank you.
And
Appreciate
I
it.
believe, by the way, one more thing, that is that the county, Prince George's County, also has a similar law itself for county taxes.
So technically, if we can get taxes from the city, from the state, and the county, if all three municipalities pass it. That's
Well,
fair to
I
say.
don't know. I know
I
the
got you.
county and the
The
municipal.
county just did something recently for seniors.
Yeah,
Okay.
they also adjusted in a similar fashion to what this legislation is providing.
Mhm.
No more questions. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any more comments or anything? Mitchell,
Yeah.
Councilman Mitchell?
Yes, I mean, it was more to Larry, since we're just talking. If we're talking about expanding, especially lowering the retirement age, this is something that we can ask the state for, like bond funding for, to support the program in the city? Is that?
I don't, Councilman Mitchell, I don't believe so. This is really simply a matter of giving relief from city taxes. And I believe that would be interpreted to be a matter of just city concerns only. And I don't think the state would see fit in this situation to fund that.
I mean, because what if we say to lower it 10 years, it was too big of a tax burden for the city essentially to take on, and after analyzing that, and then they're asking for more or help from the state, because that's essentially what we want. We want to open it up to more people and things of that nature.
Well, Councilman, I think you'd have to go to the state to request that. And if you wanted to do such a thing or want to have that ability.
Okay, awesome. And then my other question was about the surviving spouses portion. So basically, if someone passed, it would then go on to their surviving spouse, and they have to continue to recertify or apply every year.
Yes, that it's specifically for the veterans. It's an unremarried surviving spouse could
Okay.
receive the tax credit through the veteran portion.
Okay. Well, thank you.
And they could not do that before.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right, any other comments from the council? All right, well, if the council agrees, we'll introduce and hold the first public hearing on ordinance number 2003 at the mayor and city council meeting on Monday, November 14th, 2022. And there being no further business.
Mr. President, if I could, I'm sorry.
Sure.
There's been quite a few questions on that piece of legislation. We're going to try to get some things answered, as well as if we can, need to make some changes. If that's the case, we'll just hold off from introduction. It's
Okay.
not a time sensitive, and we'll push it on to the next to get everybody's questions answered, the things that were
All right.
brought up tonight, just so you're aware.
All right, we go to the
We'll
next
try to,
session.
we'll try to do it for the next meeting. If not, I just want to give you a heads up on that.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
all right. Well, there being no further business to come before the mayor and city council tonight, this meeting is adjourned.
I might be rich tonight, y'all, so I got y'all.